Esta semana en News Digital TV presentamos un reportaje especial.
Good afternoon, and I'm delighted to stand here to join our council member, Philip. This is an exciting time to be a part of the state of the district at a time when we're seeing so much dysfunction in Washington, D.C. At a time when we need a voice that is going to make sure that the issues and the concerns of the people throughout the different neighborhoods that were just mentioned, that they are addressed. It's really an honor to represent such a diverse district. And with our congressmen, they're taking forward all of the concerns of the different neighborhoods. We know it's going to be okay, even with the dysfunction in Washington, D.C. So to be here today, to hear about his progress over the last 2 years, but also looking forward to how we're going to address everyday quality of life issues that concerns all of us. Homelessness, the migrant issues, health, education, economic development, you name it, it's in this district. So we're looking forward to hearing from our congressman, and because you're here, we recognize that you have provided and continue to provide tremendous support. So Congressman, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for helping today.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
Fighting with them, including and especially our Senator Chuck Schumer. Let's give him a big round of applause. Senator from New York as well, Kirsten Gillibrand. Let's give her. This community has so much history. Let's give a really, really, really big, strong round of applause to former Congressmember Charles Rangel.
In my mind, I used to be a child of poverty, not knowing that hopes and dreams can become reality. In my mind, I thought it was fine to sit in the back of the classroom because my teacher never asked me to read or write. But little did she know I was ever so bright. In my mind, I never used to understand why they used to call me ashy and black. I always heard being black, living near the railroad track. Those are the things that would hold you back. But now I understand why I'm being called ashy and black. Black is the color of my skin, so soft, beautiful, silky, and smooth. In my mind, I never used to understand why I used to see my grandma cry, on her knees, bowing down, shouting, thank you, Lord, for blessing this house. Her cries brought tears to my eyes. Grandma's cries was thanking God for all his blessings. Now I understand why. In my mind, I heard my ancestor cry. They help clear the path so others do not have to die. Justice and peace, oh Father, please help me. And that's what I heard in my mind.
Well, thank you, Oswald. Thank you. It's great to be here. First, I want to say a couple of things. I am glad that the age before you can run for Senate is 30. You're in trouble. This kid's got it all. Congratulations. Second, what a great tribute to Adriano that on a cold Sunday, January afternoon, not only is this room full, but there are 200 people waiting outside because they couldn't get in. And that's going the strength and popularity of our great senator, and I had the honor, I had the best seat in the House. Not next to Adriano, but next to his mom, Melba, who's here today. Congratulations to you. You produced a good one. Anyway, it's great to be here for Adriano. We have been friends for so long. And I want to tell you, he has done, I have never met anyone who has fought so hard for his community and his beliefs. I don't think there's 2 or 3 days, not even a week that goes by, where Adriano hasn't called me and said, what can we do on this? What can we do on that? Fighting for this, fighting for that. He knows the communities of this district, the beautiful communities, very diverse, many people struggling to get to the middle class, who need that help. Many people who need to stay in the middle class so they don't get pushed out by forces larger than them. There's no one who has the passion for the people he represents, and no one who's as effective for the people he represents than Adriano Espaillat. So I can tell you this, the state of the district would be a lot worse without Adriano Espaillat. And I want to also thank you for electing me again. I did win in November. The first time, and I'm honored and humbled, no one has ever won 5 terms in the U.S. Senate until this year. We actually, Adriano, Senator Gillibrand, who you'll hear from shortly, who also does a great job, and myself have had a very, very good 2 years in the Senate. In two ways. First and foremost, we helped New York tremendously. This is the first year, this is the first 2 years, you know, Senator Moynihan used to decry the fact that New York always was what he called a donor state. And that meant that we sent more money to Washington than we got back. This is the first 2 years we got more back and a lot more back than we sent to New York. Good to have the majority leader from New York. And it happened in many ways. And these are big bills, but they affect you. The American Rescue Plan, where we remember when COVID was so ravaging, the streets were empty. You'd hear every few hours, even if you were trying to get to sleep, the sirens. And you wondered if it was someone you knew being sick or even passing on. It happened all too often. And with the American Rescue Plan, we did so much. Our major hospitals would have all gone bankrupt, no health care, the subways would have stopped running, tens of thousands of small businesses here in New York would have gone under, the state and local governments would have had to lay off half their workers, and Adriano, Kirsten, and I, despite the fact that there was total opposition from the other side, You know, some of these senators from the South, when they have trouble, they have a flood or a hurricane, they say, send us money. When New York needs help, they don't want to help us. But baby, we kicked their butt and we got it from them. Bipartisan infrastructure plan is going to build more in terms of our infrastructure than has been done in 50 years. And there's good things about it. There's a good thing in general. We say 40% of the new workers, the construction workers, will be people of color, will be poor people, people who've gotten out of prison, people who need these jobs and wouldn't have been able to get them in the past. It'll be a great ladder up. We've also made sure that there are a lot of good things in that infrastructure plan, and one of them, which Adriano and I really pushed hard for, Phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway has occurred. And it's a great, great thing. We passed, guns are a scourge for us. And as you know, the power of the NRA is enormous. We passed the first, together, we passed the first major advance in gun safety legislation in 30 years. I feel for this because I'm the author of the assault weapons ban, I'm the author of the Rede law. But for 30 years, the NRA blocked us. Again, we kicked butt. The NRA lost. We won. We also funded, and again, this is a thing that we had talked about, community violence intervention. To help young people who are on the streets. People in the community go out and say, there's a better way than gangs. There's a better way than violence. There are paths for you where you can lead a good life. And for the first time, we funded it for billions of dollars. We put billions of dollars into mental health. So many people need mental health services, but they can't afford it. There's no money available. In the new omnibus budget, we increased child care by 30%. Desperate, we increased Pell Grants by $500 more than ever before. One of the great problems in America is the disparity in maternal death rates. If you are a person of color, black or brown, and you're a woman and giving birth, you have a much greater chance of mortality. And here's an amazing thing. It's not even income related. Black and brown women have a greater death rate no matter what their income is compared to white people. It shows you the disparities in our healthcare system. Well, there's something called the omnibus to undo that tragedy. We did something, and now a full year of kids on Medicaid and CHIP the moms and the kids get a full year of maternal health benefits. It's going to be great for them. And I'll just talk about one more thing. Adriano importunes me on these things, but it's Kirsten and I do it in the Senate, judges. Our judges have tremendous power. We've seen how horrible this MAGA right-wing Supreme Court has been. Horrible. But at the lower level courts, which make most of the decisions, we've made huge progress. I was very proud originally, well, let's first say this. 2/3 of the new judges we have appointed are people of color. I have appointed more black and brown judges than anyone in history. 3/4 are women, and there's also professional diversity. It's not just partners in fancy law firms. It is legal aid attorneys. It is immigration lawyers. It is consumer advocates. It's community people. They have walked in our shoes, and there will be much better judges for it. And of course, at the top of the list was Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first African American. By the way, I'd like to tell everybody, guess who recommended Sonia Sotomayor to Barack Obama to put her on the Supreme Court? George United States. Adriano Espaillat is a hero. He is a giant. He is energetic. He is hardworking. He is honest. And most of all, not only does he have a great brain, he has a great heart and a great soul. We are lucky to have him in New York and in America. Let's have one more round of applause.
Manny, llegaste. Cuéntame, ¿cómo te fue por allá?
Tú sabes, ahí estuve con mamá, con los primos, con las tías. Estar en casa es el final y para seguir cerca, mañana mismo voy con mi cédula a empadronarme.
¿Empadronarte?
Sí, tú no sabes.
No.
Para poder votar en el 2024 necesitas estar en el padrón en el exterior, en el de aquí.
Tú no pierdes tiempo, Manny, siempre apoyando el crecimiento de terruño. Yo te voy a caer atrás con eso.
Empadrónate por la patria que llevas dentro. Junta Central Electoral. Garantía de identidad y democracia.
What a blessing it is today to celebrate our dear friend and amazing Congressman Espaillat, for your incredible work, your incredible leadership, and all that you've accomplished in public service. Our congressman has been in every part of government. He's been in the Assembly, he's been in the Senate, and all the while he has been a relentless advocate for the people he represents, for his constituents, his communities, his families, fighting to ensure they have access to all of the resources they need to not only survive, but to thrive. And that has been everything that Adriano has done. In Congress, the congressman has done extraordinary work identifying the areas of greatest need and delivering the funding needed to move those projects forward. He's been a champion for our students. He's been fighting for increased investments in our public school system and advocating for an increased commitment to STEM. All of you know that he has been a powerful voice for the Latino community, and he has led the way in advocating for comprehensive immigration reform. He works tirelessly to make sure that those who have come to our country seeking a better life have a safer and simpler way to the American dream. And he's demonstrated an amazing ability to deliver real change through his work to provide increased funding for asylum seekers and for immigration support for reuniting families separated by the Trump administration's cruel and inhumane zero-tolerance policy. Now, Adriano and I work together on a lot of priorities for this community. One of the ones that we most recently introduced was the Resilient Transit Act, which would help our public transit system, like the MTA, to upgrade our subways, our buses, and our transit system to better withstand extreme weather events. Rebuilding our infrastructure is paramount, but it's also imperative that we take into account safety, sustainability, and racial equity in the process. Congressman Espaillat's dedication to the 2nd Avenue subway, redeveloping the Knightsbridge Armory, has been crucial. But we also must make sure that we undertake these projects, that we also hire local talent, local workers, and our local young people to make sure they have careers they can build on. That's why Congressman and I work so hard on the Youth Build program, which helps at-risk youth from ages 16 to 24 develop skills and knowledge to gain industry-recognized job credentials, apprenticeships, and employment. This program will help ensure more workers can get hired from the communities most affected by these projects. It's really been a privilege to serve with Adriano. He is an extremely powerful and well-respected member of the New York delegation and in Congress. I know that he will continue to have a profound impact on this district, and I'm eager to continue to work with him and elevate the state and the 13th district to be even stronger and better. Thank you, Congressman, for letting me celebrate your victory.
Thank you. I feel the love in this room. In fact, I'm supposed to head up to Albany in a couple hours. I may just stay in this room. But I'm so grateful for all of you, for embracing me, making me part of La Familia. My heart is with all of you, and I thank you. And you have extraordinary leaders here. I do want to thank our speakers. You heard from our Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, extremely talented, bringing all the resources for our state, but also Kirsten Gillibrand. I've become a great friend of hers. Together we've done a lot. And sometimes it's the workforce behind the scenes is getting so much done that still needs to be recognized by all of us. So let's not forget that and support her this year as she goes onward to victory. I also see a friend, Charlie Rangel. Charlie, when I first got elected to Congress, now I was there before Adriano. Not sure why we didn't have our paths crossed. Actually, I know why. Because I voted to support President Obama's Affordable Care Act. And when you represent the most conservative district in the state of New York, you don't last too long. But I would do that all over again. But I had a chance to work with Charlie Rede. And never really did it. All my friends in Adriano, I don't have any script. I'm just going to tell stories. This is where you get in trouble, man. Back in 2014, poll I get a chance to campaign with a guy named Adriano Espaillat. And he said, we're going to go out to the streets. And we're going to go out there and talk to the people and connect. And I said, this is going to be fun. He gets a flatbed truck, and we jump on the bed. We got men, we're like dancing, right, having a great time, right? I said, this is the most fun place to campaign in the entire state of New York. So we kept coming back. We saw the street vendors. I had all my fingers after I was with somebody with a wild machete chopping it. What was he chopping up? Go get it, go. I almost lost my fingers, I swear to God. But he was very tough. So we had the coconut cutting guy. We just had so much fun, like dancing in the streets. And what you've done for me since then, teaming up with me, supporting me, again in 2018, again this past year, and making sure that the people in your beloved district knew who I was. And even on a rainy night, we had a rally. Everybody's shaking. It was monsooning out. And I jumped out of the vehicle and said, there's nobody going to be here. There are 200 people in the streets that you had brought together to have a chance to meet with me and support me. I will never forget that, my friend. That's how you touch my heart. I will never forget that.
When you are heckled, they crumble. In New York, we just love the energy of all people. I just love, you could heckle me, yell at me, you could call me names, and all I do is throw in that smile. Welcome to district in my community. And when people don't want to deal with the fair treatment of our asylum seekers and immigrants and those who seek to pursue the American dream, he says that it is inhumane to allow people to come to the country that don't receive the resources they deserve. And so when we needed to get funded, we knew we had to go to the congressman, and he fought on behalf of those who needed those resources right here in this city. Action after action after action. You see him on the ground among the people. This is a people's congressman in a real way. And he represents the voice of the people who sent him there. And I tell people all the time, I was born in Alabama, but I'm Dominican, baby. History making, pioneer, fighter. This is the type of representation we need to get ourselves through these challenging times we have. Brother, you my brother. I love you no matter what I was doing today. I said I had to come here and be here to hear your state of the district. Thank you, brother.
Charlie Randall. Very good. We love New York. We love New York. And good afternoon, everybody, for coming here. Good afternoon for coming here, all of you. He has the right to speak. Let us speak. Give him a round of applause. We love democracy. This is not January 6th. This is the 13th Congressional District. So I'm happy to be here today and present to you the state of the district. I am delighted to share legislative accomplishments and fiscal victories. My legislative agenda for this coming year. Before I get started, families right here in the 13th Congressional District. Now, there are 3 transformative projects that I've been spending a lot of time in and working for you in the 13th Congressional District. And I've been working with community partners and made tremendous progress this last year. The first project, which is a transformative project, is the second phase of the 2nd Avenue subway. Now, in 2022, the federal government advanced this state-of-the-art regional project. And I say this is a regional project because it will connect El Barrio and Harlem to the rest of the world. When we moved to the engineering phase of this project, and we fought to secure $8 billion for capital investment and in this historic infrastructure bill, which is where the funding lies for the 2nd Avenue subway. But also President Biden took notice, and he's indicated this is a priority by recommending $400 million to kick off the project's construction. So this is an important project. This is one that, as I said before, will connect El Barrio and Harlem to the rest of the world. And the new line extension will build on the success of the first phase and bring a total of riders of 300,000 strap hangers. We will increase from 150,000 strap hangers to 300,000 in the 2nd Avenue subway second phase. Let me just remind you that the first phase created 16,000 jobs, generated $842 million in wages, and produced $2.8 billion in economic activity during this construction. So we expect the second phase, Congressman Rangel, will generate even greater opportunity for the residents of El Barrio and in Harlem. Now let me just say to you this, before I tell you a little bit more about the project. Congressman Rangel and I have been working very strongly on the Charles B. Rangel Institute for Transportation and Infrastructure. The second phase of this project won't be successful unless we bring jobs also to our community. So the Congressman and I have been working with City College to ensure that we train the young people for the jobs that will come through the second phase. For our community, as I said before, for our community, this extension will provide subway riders express bus services to the brand new LaGuardia Airport and connect to Metro North and the 12 counties that are serviced by Metro North outside of the 5 boroughs. We have the opportunity also to, in the future, foster water transportation options through the Harlem River and the Hudson River. So 125th Street will become a regional transportation hub for the northeast of our nation.
Mateos Multicultural Market abre sus puertas al público de Danbury, Connecticut. Con nuestra ampliación tenemos productos internacionales, meat market, deli sándwiches y lotería. Estamos abiertos los 7 días de la semana. Este mes tenemos un especial Jasmine Rice de 20 libras por $19.99. Y para más facilidades para nuestros clientes, hacemos delivery gratis. Estamos ubicados en el 301 de Main Street, Danbury, Connecticut. Teléfono 203-456-3904. Mateos Multicultural Market.
The non-for-profits involved. Uptown Ground Central is very much involved in this project. And we are, which is a very strong advocacy group in West Harlem. They've all been instrumental in pushing forward this 2nd Avenue subway. And we're hopeful again to have the full funding agreement by the end of this year. The Bronx has a similar transformative project for that borough, and that's the Kingsbridge Armory, which is the largest armory in the nation, Congressman. It has over 180,000 square feet and 7 stories going down. You can fit 3 football fields inside the armory. And that Kingsbridge Armory project is a revolutionary one and will potentially bring thousands of good paying jobs to the families of the Northwest Bronx. It also has the great potential to strengthen the commercial strips such as Kingsbridge Road, Fordham Road, and Bedford Park that need a lot of help right now. The project has already gotten $5 million for redevelopment thanks to the great work of Councilwoman Pierina Sanchez, who's here with us today. I saw her there. And it has the undivided, and I mean it, the undivided and full support of the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson. Now, Governor Hochul already committed $100 million to the project, not simply as a loan, but as a potential grant for the development of that great project. Last year, I was excited to bring the U.S. Department of Labor Secretary Marty Walsh to visit the location. This is an area that was the hardest hit, Dr. O, as you know. This area was the hardest hit during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this project, once completed, will send a clear message to the world that we are back and that we will rebuild the Bronx. Now, Uptown, Washington Heights, Inwood also has a similar transformative project, and that's an Uptown Cultural Center. And I appreciate the efforts of Councilwoman Carmen de la Rosa and Assemblymember Manny de los Santos in their efforts to bring Uptown a full-fledged community center and cultural center. And I look forward to continue the work with Senator Robert Jackson and Assemblymember Al Taylor. The project just recently got a boost. It received a $10 million budget allotment from City Hall for its kickoff. Thank you, Mayor Adams. Thank you. So we want to thank Mayor Adams for his contribution to that project. And as you know, the Uptown Community Cultural Center will be in the Inwood neighborhood of the 13th Congressional District and will highlight the diverse cultures of Northern Manhattan. That's still a neighborhood of immigrants and new arrivals, including people from the Dominican Republic. These 3 transformative projects, the 2nd Avenue subway, the Kingsbridge Armory, and the Uptown Cultural Center will transform this neighborhood into something positive. And it will favorably bring up the quality of life in Harlem, East Harlem, the Northern Manhattan, and the Northwest Bronx. Last month, I proudly voted for a spending bill that delivers for working families and invests in communities across the district. Throughout this process, my colleagues and I fought for common sense investment in our communities. I am proud to tell you that we secured $16.2 million in federal community project funding to directly support local projects in Harlem, El Barrio, Hamilton Heights, Washington Heights, Inwood, and the Northwest Bronx. The following projects were funded for the Harlem community. A $1.1 million project for the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce for its small businesses, public safety education, and information initiative. I want to salute my good friend, Assemblywoman Inez Dickens, who has been pushing for that project, and Senator Claudel Clear. In addition to that, $1 million for the Abyssinian Development Corporation for its SEL programming and professional development program. $2.2 million for the CUNY Charles B. Rangel Center for Infrastructure and Workforce Development for a state-of-the-art transportation and infrastructure workforce training program. Please join me in congratulating the Lion of Lenox Avenue, Charles B. Rangel. For West Harlem, the Hamilton Heights, $1 million for the Brotherhood Sister Soul after school program. And we must continue to work with our youth. And I want to salute Council Member Sean Abreu, who advocated for that funding. The following initiatives were funded and supported for El Barrio. El Barrio is a community that, as I say always, is the cradle, the launching pad for the Latino experience in the Northeast. And the Puerto Rican community that has been there for decades upon decades were the ones that opened the door for many Latinos that came here, as I did from the Dominican Republic, from other places in Latin America. So we must never forget where we came from, and if we do, we will be destined to not know where we're heading. And so we allocated $800,000 for the Center of Puerto Rican Studies, El Centro, to support and create a hub serving El Barrio. The funding will allow El Centro to equip space with the necessary technology and other equipment to foster robust community use and to connect with New York City public schools and build collaborations and improve curricula. In addition, and the councilwoman, again, she's been getting my attention lately, Diana Ayala, we put $1.25 million in La Marqueta, a workforce improvement project to support the growth and development of small businesses in that traditional shopping center in East Harlem. El Barrio is an important part of this district. Harlem is a historic and iconic part of this district. Northern Manhattan is an immigrant community, and the grit and sweat of the working class Bronx make this district one of the most diverse and energetic districts in these United States. Again, we salute the leaders, Diana Ayala and New York State Assemblyman Eddie Gibbs, for their work. The following projects were funded for Washington Heights Inwood. $1.7 million for the Washington Heights Bid and Inwood Merchants Association to clean our streets and beautify our neighborhoods. We're working with the city and the mayor to make sure that our commercial strips are cleaner. Funding will support workforce development programming, help reduce commercial vacancies, and fund the management and creation of a 207th Street Vendors Plaza. We salute again Assemblyman Manny de los Santos for his efforts in this project. $1 million for the Young Men's and Young Women's Hebrew Association of Washington Heights and Inwood for vocational training and workforce development. In addition to that, and we've heard how we need credible voices in our community to diffuse violent situations from occurring. Once they occur, it's a tragedy everywhere. So we need credible messenger, credible voices that will diffuse violence in our street corners. Working with the local community and the local police precinct, we put in $530,000 to the Credible Messenger Mentoring Movement Program of New York City. And of course, that particular project was advocated by our councilwoman, Carmen de la Rosa. I'm working with the elected officials of this district, and Mayor, I'm listening to them because they're on the ground while I'm in Washington, and they tell me exactly what the needs are of you, the community, and therefore we must work together with all of our elected officials to make sure that we have success. In addition to that, we gave $800,000 to the CUNY Dominican Studies Institute for historical, curricular, and enrichment programs related to their archives, and $1 million to the Dominican Women's Development Center for after-school STEM education, post-secondary access programs, and English language learners. Finally, we also gave funding to the Bronx. The Bronx, as I said, is a growing part of this district. It is a hard-working and working-class neighborhood of this district. And during the pandemic, the Bronx was hit severely hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we have to answer to their needs. And as a result, we gave, for the first time, $1.2 million for the CUNY Mexican Studies Institute to the growing Mexican-American community in our district. In addition to that, $800,000 for the formation of the Burnside Avenue bid to ensure that we have a bid on Burnside Avenue, to ensure that the funding is there to improve and revitalize the development of local businesses. Thank you again for Councilwoman Pierina Sanchez, who represents that district. Also, $750,000 working with Montefiore and Dr. O, who's here with us today, to establish a school-based healthcare center. And we want to salute Senator Gustavo Rivera, Congressman Richie Torres, and Council Member and State Assemblyman Eric and Jeffrey Dinowitz for their help in that area. Finally, we're working with the Hispanic Federation to service the entire district, the small business sector of the entire district, and provide those small businesses with e-commerce, safety, training, and consumer needs across the entire district. These are the projects that we funded this year at the tune of $16.2 million. But I want to take this opportunity also to congratulate the CEO of the New York Urban League, Arva Rice. I don't know if she's here today, but she was successful in securing $1.7 million in a community project last year to help maintain and rehab the New York Urban League's historic building in Central Harlem. This year, she got an additional $3 million for the project's completion. Because of this combined funding, the New York Urban League is able now to maintain its services and project in its historic Harlem location uninterrupted. So please join me in saluting Arva Rice. As you know, this past Congress, we had a very productive agenda and many victories. The Inflation Reduction Act is a victory for New York families and really for our planet. A historic law signed by President Biden that will lower costs for families, lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors, create millions of good-paying jobs, and deliver the most significant climate action in history. On affordable health care, this act will help nearly 5,000 people in the district, covered through Obamacare, save an average of nearly $4,000 in premiums starting next year. A family of 4 in the district with a household income of $75,000 could save close to $3,000 on their premium next year. A household of 2 seniors with a joint income of $70,000 could save as close to $9,000 in premiums for next year. The act also caps Medicare prescription drug costs at $2,000 per year, starting in 2025. An estimated 6,000 Medicare Part D beneficiaries from our district will benefit from this. And listen to this, nearly 10,000 Medicare patients relying on insulin in my district will now have a co-payment cap at $35 per month. Seniors will no longer have to ration their insulin because of skyrocketing costs. On the environment, the act also has a robust environmental justice agenda. We love you too. There's 3 of you that we love so far. We're going to love more. We're loving people. Last year, I hosted the first annual Environmental Justice Tour on June 2022, which featured 16 locations, highlighting ongoing and completed projects as well as infrastructure needs along the Bronx and Manhattan sides of the Harlem and Hudson Rivers. The tour brought attention to projects related to water quality, public waterfront access, pedestrian and wildlife safety, sewage control, flood management, storm resiliency, sanitation, and much more. In collaboration with the Bronx and Harlem River Federal Urban Waters Program and the Harlem River Working Group and the Bronx Council on Environmental Quality, as well as WEAC and other participants, we were able to make these particular projects visibly aware to all the participants of the tour. And of course, other participants included many city agencies as well as federal agencies. So we want to thank all of those that participated in the tour.
News Digital TV, me encanta estar con la diáspora, señores. Ustedes no saben que yo aprendí a amar a los dominicanos fue de tantas veces que vine a Nueva York. Yo entiendo que los dominicanos de verdad están aquí.